or less. So at least you caught me early enough. It wasn't completely horrible.
The best part is already over.
Oh, it's only begun. It's only just begun. So anyways, what do you think of all this, DJ?
Oh no, I think it's cool, and like you said, just coming back to the practice of returning to the breath, and even when it seems to be quite stormy, part of that is like just being okay. It's okay to feel this way in terms of that storm coming, but we can breathe with it, and then it will fade away, right? But also working with the wholesome thoughts, it's just like gently chipping away at it a little bit, and then we really, what we're doing is also changing our view so we can see that, oh yes, this does pass, even if it's rather intense seemingly emotionally, but when we have the view, oh yes, this does change, this isn't permanent, it's different than, oh my gosh, I hate this is awful, is always going to be this way, we're stuck like this, that kind of thing. So being able to see that and just remembering to look and make a wholesome change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all that dissatisfaction, it grows deeper. It becomes more powerful when we're clinging to the I, me, my mind.
Yeah.
If there's, like Ajahn Chah said, no mind, no problem. If there's no ego there, who is it that's getting hurt? Who is it that's suffering? Who is it that's happy? Who is it that's sad? If we're just on autopilot, kind of like what Buddhadasa Bhikkhu would mention, how it would be a good idea if we're all kind of took the example of, I'm paraphrasing here, he didn't say this, he said computers, but from what I got from it, it was more like data from soundtrack or Star Trek. That android robot from Star Trek? Any Trekkies here? No?
Yeah, I know.
But he was, or Spock even, who wasn't a robot. But very kind of like, oh, there's a physical problem. Well, let's do our best to try to solve it. Yeah, but what if it doesn't work? See, that's the human emotions come in. What if it doesn't work? What if this? What if that? I don't know. What the fuck? What if Spaghetti Monster comes out of the sky? I don't fucking know. But when you were faced with a problem in the physical realm, we do the things that we can and we let it go. And then, like the Christians say, it's just up to God from there. Or, it's up to Buddha, it's up to God, it's up to the universe, however you want to phrase it. But give your burdens, as Ramana Maharshi said, give your burdens to the Lord, and he can carry any burden. So do what you can and let it go.
Yeah.
Like a computer, Oh, the plant needs water. I will water the plant. I'm hungry. I will eat. I'm tired. I'll sleep. And I gotta shit. I'll shit.
Yeah.
You shit, like that old Zen saying, you shit, you fuck, you eat, you sleep, you die. That's life. It's not very complex. And there is, like this one Zen master said, there's a very kind of peaceful quality with that saying, even though it sounds so crude and like brash. But there is some kind of level of like comfort, like, oh yeah, that is all life is. It is just pissing, shitting, eating, sleeping, and moving around. Look at people from a plane, they're just little tiny ants. And you say, hey, where are all those people's ambitions and worries and fears? They're just little ants moving around. They're not even doing anything. You'll watch them from a plane. One little ant will move here. 10 minutes later, maybe it's like a little couple blocks away. Like, what are they doing? They're eating, they're chilling. Not much to it. Nature's very forgiving that way. One time I was doing some psychedelics when I was like 16. And I got this like profound realization that always I've expanded on my whole life, but it's like, wow, I don't need to do anything. Like all nature really asks is that we put some water and some sustenance in our body, some nutrients once in a while, and get a roof over our head, maybe. Even that is questionable, is optional. It's an option. And there's not much we need to do. It's kind of like an interesting thing. Like, wow, nature gave us all this shit. We don't really have to do much. If we're hungry, there's food on fucking trees. There used to be clean rivers. You could even drink out of the fucking lakes back in the day, but not anymore.
Yeah, it's cool.
Spring in the forest over there. I could drink right out of the spring. So there is some stuff still left. But sorry, DJ, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say on the not, needing to do anything. That's what I find quite gladdening and also satisfying, working with satisfying the mind, which is just when getting into seclusion, or sometimes even when not, but like physically, and just going, oh, no need to do anything, no need to do that, no need to get that, no need, just like working with that. And it's so freeing and liberating just to sit there and be like, yeah, don't need anything right now. Don't need to do anything. Don't need to go anywhere. No need. Yeah.
No
Really
one's,
coming from, yeah.
no one's fucking approval. That's a
Yeah.
big for
Yeah.
me. Like, I'm not getting people's fucking approval for my life. Fuck them all. Such a freeing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No need for approval. No need for validation. And just sit there and be quite joyful. Yeah.
Dhammarato used to say, "The king of our own pile of dirt."
Yeah.
We each stand on a pile of dirt, and we are the emperors of this pile of dirt. Even the prisoners in prison, they're emperors of their little square they stand in. Unless they sold themselves for cigarettes, then they're somebody else's property. That does happen. But that's a little too in-depth prison knowledge from watching too many documentaries.
Yeah.
But yeah, just don't worry, be happy. Breathe and relax.
Have you any tips on satisfying the mind? Like what works for you? And
Yeah.
where do you think the joy comes from, guys? Does it come from getting better at the practice, or does it just come naturally from meditation, or where does the satisfaction come from? It's a kind of an absorption, is it?
Yeah, it's interesting talking about satisfying the mind, and really the way that I tend to look at it here is it's more about recognizing the absence of dissatisfaction, right? So this is the really like freeing satisfaction, which is not necessarily some like object that we go after, but it's actually the absence of dissatisfaction. So when we get, we're practicing and we're secluded from the hindrances, right? It's like that's the only obstacle. So we don't need to get a thing. It's rather recognizing the absence of a thing, which is dukkha, right? So when there's no dukkha, there's, satisfaction. There's sukha, right? And so this is the way of kind of having a very secure base of satisfaction that we can return to. But then the joy, like that wow factor, kind of comes from that as well when we recognize, wow, it really is so nice to not want anything right now. Wow, it's so, so we can work with that. So part of it can be the practice of like remembering to look and make a wholesome change over and over again. And as we continue to practice with that and are persistent, the mind's going to be cleared out from hindrances more often. We're going to be able to see, the hindrances more clearly. And that's why too, when working with like, congratulations when we do see these things and we recognize it and we wake up, or also, with like, aha, I see you, Mara, that kind of thing can really bake in the joy. So even when there are these things like hindrances, they're not that big of a problem, right? So that's another way of working with the joy as well. But we can come back to this sense of satisfaction where we just drop all expectations and just come back to, yeah, just this breath right here, right now. This is good enough.
Like Dhammarato says too, that suffering is not going to go away permanently. And the suffering in a way is not even a problem. Like what DJ just said, it's really great. But a lot of people will hear that and think, well, I'm not practicing correctly. There's still suffering that arises. It's not so much suffering if we have the wisdom to see that it's just the natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between the natural phenomenon that arises in the mind, like pain and thirst and hunger and all these things, and actual dukkha.
Yeah.
Actual dissatisfaction. Because can you be okay with what you used to call suffering in the mind is always going to be there periodically? Can you be okay with that? Then the transformation occurs that it's no longer suffering. It's just a natural phenomenon that we're okay with.
Yeah. And when we recognize no self, no problem, like this is kind of pulling out where we're like, oh yeah, wait a minute. There can be this process of dissatisfaction, right? Where it kind of comes up. But when we're like aware, we can see, oh, wait a minute, that's just an impersonal process playing out, right? So we can put in the right effort, of course, to make these wholesome changes, but we can also, that change can be in the view. And when we just recognize that, also dissatisfaction is not necessarily unpleasant feeling, right? It's that born from that thirst, right? So again, it's like understanding that as well. When we're wise to these feeling tones, then it's like not so much of an issue, right? So we can feel a little bit, you know, physically or sometimes even mentally, this little bit of unpleasantness, right? Or even you could say a painful feeling, but it's not that big of a deal as we continue to see things clearly. Yeah. But like, yeah, it's a long stretch to say, oh yeah, one especially like is going to be completely free of it all the time, you know, but we can recognize the freedom from it moment to moment. And that's why coming back to this particular moment right now as we talk and like looking at this and being like, oh, wait a minute, we can just chill out. Okay, we can just be cool right now. It's so beneficial to come back to this, right? So yeah, and not some idea or concept of something, but this.
And it's all just thoughts, feelings, and emotions floating around the biological mechanism we call the human body. If anger arises, like Dhammarato says, the right type of speech wouldn't be, I'm angry. The right type of speech would be, oh, my body has some anger in it. There's no big deal. Just some chemicals flowing through the brain. It will pass, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's little kids.
But yeah, working with that wholesome speech can make quite a bit of a change though in the way that we see things, because when we get out of like, I'm so angry and this is, you know, this really upsets me, to we can say, oh yes, there's anger. We see there is anger, right? There it is, right? It's no longer, doesn't have the same weight, right? So yeah, lightens it up.
And you see the destructive quality of these negative emotions of anger, jealousy, greed. For me, karma really is just the actions born out of the attachments to the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's okay to be angry, but if we act on that anger, speak, do things in that anger, we thereby cause dukkha not only for ourselves, but for others. And those have real world consequences in the physical realm. And that's a lot of that bad habits, sankharas, the karma. You can be angry. Your body can be angry all it wants. Just don't act on it. Instead, a better thing would be just breathe and relax until those emotions pass. And you develop good habits. It becomes easier over time. It may be impossible to not get angry, it seems like at first, but that's just a silly thought. You know, you can be okay with having your body go through these thoughts, feelings, and emotions like anger or fear, and they will pass. It does get easier. It's gotten way easier for me.
I like too that you brought up Dhammadasa, like just reframing from acting on these emotions is already, you know, a big part of it, you know, and then
It's like 2/3 of the battle already.
yeah.
You could even say it's 100% of the battle. Like, sit peacefully with all those feelings and emotions raging inside you. Just sit peacefully. They won't last.
Yeah.
Cause no karma for yourself or others. It won't last. Because how many times have we gotten angry? I don't know about you guys, but we're all men here. I know men have a tendency to get way more angry than women. Well, you know what I mean. But how many of us have done something in anger and immediately after we're like, fuck, should I have gone that aggro? I think I fucked up.
Yeah.
You know? And you see in that moment, like, fuck, if I just would have used my words more correctly and a little bit of wisdom, I would have been fucking all right. But now I lost my temper and now I'm stressing out about what's this person going to say at work and how are these social people going to think about me now and what the fuck, and a whole comma ball of suffering wax, you know. But if we just shut the fuck up and sat down, we would have been fine. But our ego says, no, they're taking advantage of us. No, this, no, that, whispering in our ear like a devil. You know?
Yeah.
But don't listen to that bullshit. It's not even real. It's only real insofar as it's just a tool meant to help us from like an evolutionary standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like not having I notice here issues in the past where I have aversion towards anger. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be angry and all that stuff. And that also can lead to sort of this balling up of it. So rather just being like, okay, not going to act on the anger or what have you, but rather just going to see it clearly, you know. And I really like Thich Nhat Hanh's got a thing where he says, like, I'm going to take good care of you, right? So I'm going to care for you, right? So you're going to care for this emotion, be aware of it, but you're not going to let the emotion then become the driver. That's just, so the mindfulness, this awareness, this is what's kind of steering the ship, or wisdom is steering the ship, as opposed to, these emotions, right? So it's kind of helpful, and then they can just process and dissolve. And also there isn't this fear towards them, right? Because then if there's like a fear towards it, there's also, it's all the negative emotions can play off of each other. So rather it's like, oh, okay, no, when we have this light, right, with the wisdom, with the sati coming in, it's like that just dissolves those in a much more easy way. But part of that is also to develop that is not acting on it, like you said, because that requires one to be aware sometimes too, just to be like, okay, we're not going to act on that. So yeah,
that's why some of the old abbots and stuff, Dhammarato would even say, I think I heard this from him, he said some of the instructions that some monks heard were only, okay, you're part of this I don't know, you're part of this Wat here. Now just say Bhutto Bhutto, practice repeating that mantra, and that's the only instruction they got from their abbot they ever heard in like 30 years. And I've heard stories like that in Zen monasteries, from ancient Zen masters and stuff. These stories of like very simple instruction, but it's amazing what simplicity can do if it's adhered to. But go
That's
ahead.
what I was going to say. Did them simple instructions work?
I'm assuming that it works for some and doesn't work for others. I guess it's just how well you are at following instructions, or how you can see that, like, if somebody tells you to put a hammer down, that you're hitting yourself. It's not so much the instruction, but it's that relief of that pain that's like, fuck, I was hitting myself in the head. I do look back at my life and say, God, I was so fucking angry and like insecure and fucking like such a piece of shit in times of my life. And I just am so, it's almost like, when Jesus, he would see the biggest sinner and Jesus would just go, wave his hand and go, my son, you are forgiven. And the guy like couldn't accept it. He'd be like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a murderer. I'm a tax collector. I'm this, I'm that. And Jesus would say, no, you're forgiven. And it dawned on me, it's like, Jesus will always forgive, but can we forgive ourselves? That's the thing. Everything's fine. Can we realize that? Can we give ourselves the gift of realizing that everything is fine? Stop causing trouble. Just chill out. Put the hammer down. Everything's fine. So simple, but for many it appears difficult to see, but it's not really. That's why silence is so important. Go in the forest and be silent. Where is politics? Where is our wives explaining or nagging? Where is this? Where is that? Where is up and down in the forest when we're just breathing? It's all in the mind. The forest is like just silent. It's a silent reflection. And you're just like, there really is no problems in this world. It's kind of actually amazing and miraculous. All these trees growing and shit and animals. It's pretty awesome. but we have these bad habits of constantly going back to the problem, what we think are problems. Yeah, it's a nice forest, but you don't have these bills I have to pay, and this and this and this and this. It's like everybody's got problems, man. Everybody's got physical world shit they got to deal with. Nobody's free of it. Just try the best you can, and one day we'll be dead and free of these problems.
Guys, I'm going to go there now. It was nice meeting you all, and hopefully we'll meet again. Take care.
Awesome,
Good to see
dude.
you.
You're awesome.
Thanks.
All right, dudes. I think I'm going to wrap it up too, unless you guys have any other questions or anything.
Oh, not particularly.
How
You
about
have
you?
anything, Patrick?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you guys joining.
Yeah. Thank you,
Peace.
Dhammadasa.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you.
reminder to record it.
Yeah.
Have something at least now.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure because sometimes folks don't feel like recording, so I just was like, okay, I'll check to see what's up.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks. It's
Thank you. Peace.
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 Sadhu.